who's behind the mask once and for all on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
We are talking Curse of the Scarecrow. This one is directed by Louisa Warren and written by Shannon Holliday. This is a low-budget British movie being distributed by High Octane in the US. So let's talk Curse of the Scarecrow. So we have a whole host of Scarecrow movies out now. So you can definitely make a top 10 if you want. Will this make it? Well, let's discuss. So this basically is it kind of almost follows like a Jeepers Creepers style plot, where we have this scarecrow that has been coming back every 20 years to kind of wreak havoc on whoever happens to be nearby, and it's unstoppable. So we already have like a pre-existing legend when we start this movie, and the bulk of this movie focuses on this family. We have this woman played by Kate Lister, called June, and she's the kind of the main character, and her parents were killed by the Scarecrow 20 years previously, and she gets in contact with her estranged brother, who warns her not to come back to this kind of farm, and ultimately the brother is killed thereafter. She does return, of course, with a friend and psychologist, and there, of course, they must face down the Scarecrow. So, what do we think works with this movie? Let's talk about Kate Lister, who was in the main role here. I actually thought she was the best actress in the movie, and did a pretty believable performance, I must say. I thought she actually acted like a real kind of person, which was quite good. I don't know if I thought she was suited for the role. I mean, my critique with this is she looks very kind of glamorous. She's very kind of like a sort of nightclubby type girl. And if you were a person who had seen your family get massacred in front of you 20 years ago, I don't know if you would be quite as confident looking, if that makes sense. There is a character who they kind of run into, this kind of red-headed girl who looks a little bit more kind of jittery almost. I thought that's ultimately what I would have gone for casting. But I'm assuming they wanted to cast like a traditionally kind of glamorous, pretty girl and all that. So there you go. That's my kind of thoughts on that one. But she does, I actually quite liked her acting here. There's a couple of decent scenes where she's trying to overcome her fear of scarecrows by sort of touching, and just her reactions just seem kind of quite genuine to me. There's a reasonable body count in this movie. The Scarecrow dispatches its victims, through a variety of ways, normally with a scythe, but we get axes, we get people being stuffed full of straw. It's never particularly gory, but nonetheless, there's a kind of a reasonable body count here. I also quite like the location shooting here. Obviously, there's a fair amount of external shots, and I thought, the sets and kind of like the obviously location shooting where they've done it, all looks kind of pretty good. It also is relatively well paced. So let's talk about what doesn't work for me. So we have Kate Lister as our main actress. She is accompanied by 2 other women who I have to say are not as strong. The psychologist fares a little better, I would say, but I don't know why a psychologist would come to this place with her in the first place, along with her friend. It just seemed a little odd to me. But her friend, it just seems very kind of unsure of her acting ability and comes across her lines very forced. I kind of liked her friend, the way she was written in regards to this friend, and some of her lines were okay. So I thought she seemed like the way she was written was good, but her performance wasn't so good. I mean, I've seen worse, but just not quite as strong maybe. The main issue I have with this movie is it seems like Shannon Holliday, who wrote this, has never seen a horror film, because my God, it goes through every cliche. It really does. There's so many cheap jump scares. I mean, there's one thing that just really struck me. I was dumbfounded. You know, we have our main character, June. She opens a fridge and she's, you know, taking a glass of water. Then we have this kind of blank space near to. You think, okay, so something's going to pop out there. But all of a sudden, the Scarecrow just lights up for some reason, goes dark, and then lights up again. It's like, what are you doing? Where's this light coming from? It doesn't make sense. It's just there to kind of like, you know, have a lame jump scare. This next bit will frustrate you. Not once, but twice, we have a character literally turn their back to the Scarecrow when it's right behind them. They've seen it there, and they turn their back to it for some reason, because, you know, they hear a sound somewhere else, and they know the Scarecrow is alive at this point and kind of killing people. But they literally turn their back to it. And then, most egregiously, the second instance, the person turns round, the Scarecrow doesn't do anything at that point. She has an opportunity to try and defend herself or get away, but doesn't do it. It's so frustrating. And then we have the typical things where, you know, all of the characters know that there is a supernatural being, you know, stalking them, but they find reasons to go and split up and, you know, go off on their own. It's just cliche after cliche. The actual Scarecrow himself, I've got to say, was a little disappointing on two fronts. First of all, I think the actual the aesthetic design is not very good. I mean, it's got this kind of the sack over its head, but it doesn't really look that well developed, if that makes sense. It just, you can't really see much. It doesn't look particularly scary. It literally just looks like a sack. I mean, I know it's maybe more realistic, perhaps, but it would have cool to have been seen more of a kind of a face shaped within that kind of like design to make it look a little more scary, because it just literally looks like, you know, a guy with a sack on his head. It doesn't look particularly well. Also, the actor who was playing the Scarecrow could have done a better job moving, I think. Now, what I mean by that is the Scarecrow moves like a human being, and it would have been good to maybe make his movements a little more jerky, not seem like he was just a guy strolling around, because it just didn't look supernatural enough for a character that we're meant to have believed has been coming back to life. And there's some real plot holes here. We'll come on to that. You know, he just looks like he's strolling. He's just some dude. So plot holes. I mean, we're told in this movie that the thing can't be killed, and yet it seems to be. And there's right at the beginning of the movie, this guy's waiting for the Scarecrow to come up. Why not just set fire? I mean, it's literally the body of a Scarecrow or a thing that's waiting for it to come alive. Just set it on fire. I mean, you know, it's this, and then we're meant to believe that there's this network of killer Scarecrows. I mean, seriously, a network of killer Scarecrows that are about. So this movie is fraught with problems, and in regards to its logic. I mean, and I'll just scratch the surface really. Some of it's kind of like basic storytelling and just kind of like attention to detail. And although I feel this movie's maybe passable, I would say, for a non-discerning Scarecrow horror movie fan. And the lead actress does do quite a good job, and she does lend some realism, I would say, to the movie. But outside of that, it's pretty much a poor show. It's not, like I've said, there are some points here that I feel do maybe kind of like stop it from becoming a complete write-off, but it's certainly a below average movie. So I'll give this movie a 4 out of 10. Does have a few good moments. Lead actress is good, although miscast, I would say. Yeah, and it's just it's an okay kind of time waster, but it's, you know, this needs more experience behind the camera, I feel, certainly from the scriptwriter and maybe the director as well. 4 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.